Promised I would trust you even through the storm. Now it's time to prove that I meant it. Ooh la la, I would keep my eyes on the blue sky, fingers on the strings and find a new rhyme. I know it's not much, but it feels right. Oh no no, I haven't forgot what you've done for me. Always taking care of my every need. You do what you say and you say what you mean.
The wilderness played an important role, affecting life in ancient Israel in several different ways. For instance, every year at the beginning and the end of summer, a hot, dry desert wind blows from the east. This wind, called sirocco, raises the temperature and can be quite destructive to vegetation. The wind was a yearly reminder to Israel that the wilderness was within reach. The wilderness also became a powerful symbol in the scriptures. The symbols were apparently contradictory, negative on one hand and positive on the other. First, wilderness was a place of danger where only wild beasts lived. It was a place of death and barrenness. God is life, fruitfulness, light, order, and harmony. In contrast, the wilderness was a place of death, barrenness, darkness, and chaos. However, the wilderness also was a place of transition, a place for meeting God. The wilderness experience began after the Israelites came out of Egypt on their way to the Promised Land. The wilderness represented the transition from being different tribes and from being slaves for generations to becoming a holy nation, a worshiping people, God's treasured possession. The wilderness journey was a time of preparation. Although God promised to be with them and fight for them, the people needed to learn how to trust God. Trust requires time to grow. In addition, the trust that holds firmly is usually born in times of difficulties. True worship and faith arise from a heart grateful to God for His love, grace, and mercy. The presence of God in the midst of the camp could not have contrasted more than it did in the wilderness. God intended the Israelite camp to be an oasis of life, grace, and light. Like Noah's ark in the midst of the flood, it was meant to be a place of life in the midst of death, a place of order and harmony in the midst of disorder and chaos. In this place of contrast, God taught the tribes of Israel to be a holy nation, a kingdom of priests. He taught them how to be God's people. Welcome to my journey through the wilderness.
So I've hiked this trail multiple times, but I've never finished it. And I feel like I heard the Lord say to finish it. I didn't finish it because I didn't know what lay ahead. I didn't know how much longer it was gonna be, how much farther, how much harder. I used to hike this and be so out of breath, and I would just be like, I'm gonna turn around, I don't know what lays ahead. I still don't know what lays ahead, but we'll see. I guess what I don't like about when I would venture this far into it is that it does get more vigorous. Look at this. The path isn't as laid out for me. It's not as clear. It's clear because I see the red, but I'm like, dang, who wants to go through this? There's nothing solid for me to hold on to. I just have to really keep my foot in. So I just never really wanted to finish it. And then there's this point, at the end of it, if I remember correctly, that it just kind of looks like I can't see the path. I have no idea. It looks kind of rocky, and I was like, I'm good. I'm good. And I would literally always turn around at this point. So y'all are finishing this with me. I don't think I've been beyond these stairs. I've climbed these stairs, and I don't think I've gone beyond. So So there's a second set of stairs. This is the steps that I did not go beyond. So beyond here, I have no idea what this trail looks like, what's at the end, nothing. There's the red thing. I seriously got concerned. I was like, am I supposed to? But I mean, look at this. That's the path. It's not a clear path. It's not. That's the path. So I think I found a little clear entry right here. Like, whoop! Yes, I almost fell. To he who was able to keep me from falling. Thank you, Lord. Hold on to this thing. Oh, yep, almost fell again. Ow. I'm gonna walk across this off camera. I just made it past another checkpoint, so making it past another. About to walk by it. Yeah. I saw a deer. Oh, that means so much. If y'all knew how much that means. She was super pretty too. It was a girl. Look young. She went up here. She just zoomed up there. Whoop, whoop. Someone who loves to hike, I am sure can be clumsy, y'all. Ooh, Chile. I strengthened my knees. As nervous as I was, the path gets fuller and less narrow. And I didn't know that the water keeps flowing this far. Had no idea. I don't know what the number 12 is, but I passed 11 and there's another checkpoint. I think I just walked into like a spider web, but this makes me really happy. I love being outside. I even love the sweat. Oh, this is nice. Okay, I see another red mark, so I'll keep going. And we're back. Look at the path. That's the path. That's the path. It's absolutely insane. There is no path. It's just rocks. To that side. To that overlay, whatever area over there. If I'm really honest with you guys, I'm not saying this because I'm recording. These are like real feelings, real emotions, real thoughts. I do not want to keep going because I don't know how much longer I have, and I'm kind of already over it. I'm getting hungry. I want to go home. I want to take a shower, and I still have to walk all the way back. So it's not like I'm just reaching this point. I'm reaching this point and I have to go back. So it's like, I'll just go back now. Part of me is like, what's at the end of this thing that's so special? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if the path just ends? What if it just ends and there's nothing particularly special about it? Was it the journey the whole time? You know? Well, the sky looks really nice. You can't really see, but the sky looks nice. Here's the next path to get to the next checkpoint. If I didn't want to go before, I really don't want to go now. I'm not even being dramatic. If I did not want to go 5 minutes ago, I really don't want to go now. It's little and it's dark and it's starting to get dark outside, and I still got to get back to the car. I'm tripping. If I'm really honest with y'all, like if I'm allowed to keep it like a buck, I am questioning if I heard God correctly right now. I really am. Truly. That really scared me. I'm not gonna lie. It's interlocking with another, intersecting with another path. And as I was coming up this path, there was a little snake that slithered, and I was like, oh no, not today. So there's a sign here. I'm gonna see what it says. Looks like the white trail, and all I see is white. So I think I made it to the end. Hold on. So I think I made it. I think that was the end of the red trail. I don't see any more red. That's the last red mark I see. So I have never done another trail besides this one, so I don't know what the end would look like, but I think that's it because that's all I saw. So I hope so. And I really thought that I heard the Lord say, like, you're almost there, keep going. And literally I wanted to cry because I was just like, I don't want to. It's scary. And it is. It really is scary. I felt all the feels that you do in a wilderness, a real wilderness, but I made it. Hey guys, so I know that left off on a major cliffhanger. Like I said, I don't have any footage of when I was getting out of the woods because I was just ready to get out of the woods. Truth be told, this video in particular has been very difficult for me to film this week just because literally 12 hours, like I make it out, you know. I was kind of like, I can't believe that I just spent time in like the actual wilderness in the real life dark. The very next day my family got news that my grandpa passed away, and it has been just kind of like a wonky emotional couple of days, and just pushing through those feelings and emotions to continue doing what I need to do in life, right, which is work, drop my video, be there for my family. It's just been very, very much of a push through. I've recorded this video a couple of times and my energy just wasn't there, like the excitement or all of these things, it just was not there. And I was like, I can't fake the emotion. Like everything that I display is really how I feel. It's not acting or over dramatization. It's really my personality. So I just wanted to let y'all know I real life got lost in the woods in the dark, and it was really ordained by God, like for real. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so let me backtrack to that day. It was Monday, and it was honestly like the best day ever, and my intention was just to go into the woods to get some footage for like the intro that I did. I specifically was like, yes, like I just had a vision, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to get clips of the wilderness, like the woods. I thought that I had some clips, but I couldn't find them, or they weren't long enough for what I wanted to do. And so I was like, okay, cool. And I just wanted some film of me driving, like everything that you guys saw. I wanted some footage of that longer. So that was the intention. And I remember I'm getting dressed. It's Monday, and I'm getting dressed, and I have hiking gear. Like I have hiking shoes specifically for, like, you know, summer, like my Tevas. I have hiking boots. I could not find my Tevas for the life of me, like my little shoes that I wear during the warmer seasons. I could not find them, and I also like wearing those because I can put my feet in the water if I want to, right? So I could not find them anywhere. I was looking around the house. I remember getting annoyed because I could not find my designated hiking shoes, right? So I put on my sneakers. I never wear sneakers to go hiking because I have shoes for hiking. My sneakers are specifically for the gym. That is it. So I was annoyed that I had, plus my shoes are cream colored, so I was like, I don't want to wear them. They're gonna get dirty, you know, all of those things. Had no choice but to wear them. So I go, right, with the intention of I'm just going to film these little bit of things. And then, as you guys see, I really feel like I know I heard finish it. And I was tripping throughout the whole video because I'm like, did you really say that? Did you really say that? Did you really say that? Like, you know, and I just find it so amusing that that's the reality. Like, I went through a physical wilderness, but it was so symbolic of my spiritual wilderness that I'm in right now. And so honestly, I don't know the direction that this video was gonna go in. I didn't know how I was gonna start it. I still don't. As I'm recording now, I'm just kind of like, okay, God, what's the vision? Like, what is it that you had in mind? What do you want me to talk about? Because this is a series, you know? It's not gonna be a one and done video. There's a lot of information and a lot of things to pack into there. So that was a little bit about how it was before I even got there. That was the intention. Now it is nighttime, and like I told you guys at the end of the last clip, like I realized that it was dark. So, and I realized where I was. So all of that footage that you guys see of like the floor and the ground, that was towards the end. So you can imagine trying to navigate that at nighttime. So when I really realized, like, oh my gosh, like I knew that the sun was gonna go down. I don't know how to explain it to you other than like I had an awareness, but I wasn't fully aware, which is so weird because I'm like, it's gonna get dark soon, but it wasn't like impending on me like I need to go now, or you know, I was like, I wanted to obey what I heard because that wasn't my original intention to finish this trail today of all days, right? So I see that the sun is going down. I realize how far I am. And I'm like, before it gets really dark, as you guys can see in the video, you can already see how it's starting to get dark. And I was like, the little bit of sunlight that's left, I have to like jet. I need to make it through these turbulent parts with as much sunlight like as possible. So I really run. I run for it. I'm running like before running because like I said, I'm familiar with the path. I remember I told you guys I've never done another trail. I've only ever done the red trail. So if I can get to the point of the path that I'm familiar with, all is good, we're good. So that's my logic, right? That's my logic, like let's jet. And so I do. I just remember running. I don't even remember all of like running or re-walk. Like I just remember I just jet set. Then I remember specifically there's this part where there's a whole bunch of rocks. Like it's like this weird incline, and if you're not careful you can just go into the rocks that lead into the stream. And that's exactly where I ran into. I was running and I was like, wait, I'm literally running into the water. Like I need to just chill for like a second. Like I don't even remember what I was doing before that point, other than I knew I was moving. So my brain just swoop went into like, let's get out of here mode. At that point, I realized I need to slow down a little bit because I need to catch my footing, and it's really getting dark outside. So I text my prayer team. They were my first people that I thought about, was texting like my prayer crew, and the prayer crew for my church. I'm part of the team, and we're all like, you know, really close with each other. So I was like, I'm gonna text them. So I let them know, you guys, I need you guys to pray like immediately. Like, I know that they're gonna have my back in prayer without a doubt. So I messaged them, and I'm just like, I need y'all to pray immediately. Like, and I'm telling them what's going on. So from that moment, I remember exactly, because it's very rocky. I just left the parts that were like the rock with the water, and now I know that I have to like slow down, and I know that I can't run any faster. Like, all that I could run in the sunlight is up. That's it. So now I have to turn the flashlight of my phone on. It's still a little bit, but you know, like once the sun starts setting, it's like a time clock. Like it quickly dwindles. So it was a quick decline, quick and slow all at the same time. So now I have my camera flashlight on, and I'm texting them, and that's the only time that I calm down or stop. That is the first and last time that I stop to let them know. Sending them my location. They're like, you know, all of these things. Asking who else has my location. There's only one other person who has my location at all times, and so, you know, we're establishing that. So now it's dark. It is completely dark. And I just remember that there were times when I was cool. Like, it was okay. I can't remember everything. I remember that I was okay. After I texted them, I turned the flashlight of my phone, and then I book it again. That is what I remember. I book it again. I'm trying to find some familiar ground. If I could just make it to the path that is familiar, I'm gonna be okay. So I make it up the stairs, and I'm familiar with these stairs. These stairs are the stairs that you guys saw in the beginning of the video, where it says like, at this point the red path gets more vigorous. So I felt relief, even though it was dark. I'm like, I'm okay, I'm familiar with this. So I go up the stairs, mind you. I'm not even gonna state that yet. So I go up the stairs, and I start walking. I'm walking at this point, and I'm like just trying to gain my composure, gain myself. And I noticed that, because you have markers, like if you guys see throughout the whole trail, I'm showing you guys the red, that's what I was following, the red trail. So then I realized that I haven't been paying attention to the markers at all. I've just been running straight, just straight, trying not to fall, trying not to, you know what I'm saying, just trying to make it as much as I could. And I realized that I wasn't paying attention to the trail that I was on. So, but I was familiar with this. Again, I've made it through this part of the trail enough. So I was very confused when I finally look up, and I'm at the part where I thought I was, and I see that all I see are white markers. So now I'm like, wait, and it dawns on me, I'm not on the red trail. Mind you guys, remember, I'm saying to myself, as long as I know that I'm on the red path, I'm good. Now I'm not on the red path, and I'm super confused as to what I did, where that would lead me onto this path. To date, I still don't know how it could have happened, because again, I remember those stairs. I would have to go again during the day and see what could have potentially happened, but I don't know. So I walk, so it's like a fork in the road like this, right? Like there's two directions that you can go into, and I went this particular way, and that's when I noticed a white marker here and a white marker here. So I decided to go this way, and then I was like, wait, let me check. In my mind, the logical explanation was, let me go check if that's a red marker. You know, I'm still looking for the red trail, even though I clearly see that there's white. So I turn around, and I hear the Holy Spirit tell me to not go that way. And I was like, okay. So I continued on the way that I was. I see a sign that says 1 mile until visitor center, and I'm like, okay, 1 mile, 1 mile. But now I'm freaking out because I'm aware that I'm on the white trail. I'm not on the red trail, and I have 1 whole mile on this trail that I've never been on before. I just never been on it. So this is where a lot of the emotions start coming into play, because I made it out of like the rocky parts, right?
the rough parts of the ground wise, but now I'm in like the neck of like the woods where I'm not close to the water, so I can't hear that sound, and I can't see the visitor center. So now I'm like in the middle, in the thick of it. And this is where all of the emotions, all of the thoughts, everything was coming into play at once. I have not stopped, mind you. I'm moving. If you've ever been on a hike, you know, like you are, you know, you take breaks, like you just stop, enjoy the scene, or you just catch your breath. Like, and I'm not just walking, I'm like power walking or running. That's all I'm doing. And at one point I would have to control my breathing because I could feel like a panic attack was trying to come, because I am literally surrounded by darkness in the woods. Like, it's real. Like, just imagine all of those clips that you saw, but dark, and all I have is the flashlight of my phone to guide me, and it doesn't illuminate very much more than just a couple of like feet ahead of me. Really, I cannot see much. I can't see ahead. I don't know if something's gonna come for me, you know. So I'm having to calm down to prevent from having like panic attacks. 3 different times I almost had a panic attack. I remember that, because I'm like and I'd have to just calm down. Then there were points where I was like, no, I'm making it out of here, I'm good. And I was reciting Psalm 23 because it is what I know from beginning to end is Psalm 23. And so I was reciting it over and over again, and I was like, I'm gonna make it out of here. I know that God, you did not take me this far just for me to make it this far. Like, you know, that part of me was activated where I was like, no, I'm not staying here. I'm gonna make it that mile, and you know, pushing through and all of those things. And I wasn't allowing a negative thought or anxiety or nothing. I was like, no, we're making it out. I'm making it out. I trust you, God. We're here, we're in this. Then these are all flickering back and forth quickly, by the way. Then I have this thought where, well, it wasn't a thought, I knew that it wasn't mine. So simultaneously I'm very aware of like Karina, like myself. I typically overall work very well and self-regulate very well in high emergency situations naturally, and that's just my personality. So I was self-regulating well, but I was aware of like God's voice, and I was aware of the enemy and what he was trying to do at the same time. My battery is about to die, so let me replace that really quickly. Okay, so like I said, I'm very aware of the elements, you know, and what's going on around me. So and the voices too, right? So I wasn't really a voice. Okay, how do I explain it? It was a lot of visuals more than anything, and a lot of sensation or sensation overload. Like when I would, if I didn't keep looking forward, there were moments where I would be very aware of the fact that darkness is all around me, and the only light I have is my phone's light. And that would scare me, like scare me to the point where it would want to paralyze me, kind of fear. There was a very brief vision, and I knew that it wasn't a vision from God, and it was if my light shut off on my phone, and it was completely dark and it was just me, and I didn't even entertain the thought. I didn't let it go any further, because I knew that if I did, like, you know, that I wasn't gonna make, like, I wasn't gonna make it if I gave into those thoughts, right? But I also didn't allow the peace to fully encompass me. I would have moments, right, where I'm like, it's okay, like, it's cool, you're making it out, like, you're doing what you can, and I wouldn't let myself flow with that peace all the way, because then me would be like, no, you're in the woods, what are you talking about? It's dark, you don't got time to just chill, like, or just walk through here, you better you know. And then that would kind of breed this this desperation, and then I would start running, like literally running. But every time I started running too fast or too ahead of myself, I would get off of the path. Multiple times I had to backtrack, not far, but I would have to backtrack because it's dark, you know, and sometimes there's a path that is like, it's lit up for you, you know, like you see the markers. Then there's another path, it looks clear because the road is clear, but that's not the way you need to be going. And so you really have to pay attention, right, to all of these things. So there were multiple times that when I allowed those feelings to overtake me, now here I am having to take a few steps back just to get back on track, depending on the, you know what I'm saying? So it was, again, it's very symbolic to
the walk in the actual wilderness for me. And so eventually I make it. So eventually I see a sign, and I look at the sign and I'm like, oh, and I'm excited because I'm thinking, not excited, I start to feel like I can breathe, because I'm thinking that the sign is going to tell me like, oh, you know, like 0.5 and you're at the visitor center, and that is not what the sign says. So the sign says 5 miles to visitor center. At this point, I'm like, wait, what direction am I going in? How did I go from 1 mile to 5 mile? And now I'm questioning everything, right? Like, I'm literally questioning everything. How did I go from 1 mile to 5 miles, right? So at this point, I messaged my prayer team and I'm like, you guys, I don't know if my phone's gonna make it 5 miles, because my phone's on 30-something%. I'm using the flashlight. I'm trying not to text or, you know, anything like that, but 1 mile and 5 miles is two completely different things. So I'm like, I don't know if my phone is gonna make it 5 miles. Like, can I make it 5 miles, right? Like, you know, part of me can't even entertain the thought, but I'm like, can I do 5 miles of this? At that point, I kind of freak out, and I'm being logical at the same time, and I decide that the best thing for me to do is call 911. Thank God I still have reception throughout this whole time, right? So I call 911, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, and the police officer's nice, and he's like, okay, calm down. And he's like, where are you? You know, and I start explaining to him what I see, explaining to him where I am. Again, if it was the red path, it would be some familiarity to me, and I could tell him, but I told him, I'm on the white path. I've never hiked this trail before. I don't know where I'm going other than, you know, what I see. And so he tells me to give him a description of what I'm wearing. That's when it got real to me. That's when I started, like, some thoughts came in. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what if my parents get a phone call that their daughter didn't make it? Like, I'm by myself in the woods. Like, I started thinking, and I don't even entertain these kinds of news, and I really do my best to filter them out, because like I was saying, I do my best to not entertain these kinds of thoughts, but I had like quickly I would have thoughts or visions of like the news and things that happen to women, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm outside by myself. I have no form of protection on me. I don't have a knife. I don't have a gun. I don't have anything. Like, remember, Karina Falcon herself did not plan on like doing this, finishing this. Like, I wasn't even supposed to be here, you know what I mean? In my mind, I'm not really supposed to. So now I have to give him a description of what I'm wearing, and you know, I'm giving him a description of my pants, of my shoes, of my top, of my race, of my height, all of those things. And I'm like, oh man. So then he goes, and I have him on the phone, you know, and he's like, okay, I'm just, you know, just stay on the line. I'm gonna call a park ranger. Let's see if we can get you out of here. So I was on the phone with him for a total of 8 minutes, and the whole time I'm still, you know, going through. At one point, because remember, you guys, I'm freaking out, questioning if I made a wrong turn, if I'm even on the right path, because I don't understand how I went from 1 to 5. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And so now I'm moving forward through this unfamiliar trail, and I remember feeling so clearly, it was the strongest feeling ever, that I went the wrong way. Like, there was one point where I just made a loop. Like, it felt like I made a loop. Literally, I wish I could describe just how real the sensation was to me. It didn't even feel like I was moving forward. It felt like I just did a loop, and I was like, and I so desperately wanted to turn around just to make sure if that I even, like, did I do this right? I didn't. I just kept moving forward. And surely enough, had I turned around, I literally would have walked right back into the wilderness. Despite how I was feeling, despite even reading a sign that said 5 miles, I was actually closer than I had been the whole time to reaching towards the end. But it got so intense, like, towards the end, you know. So the guy gets on the phone, the ranger, and they're trying to pinpoint where I am, and he's asking me like what I hear. And that's when I'm like, I don't hear the creek, I don't hear the river, I don't hear the stream, I don't hear that. I'm too far from that at this point.
and then I start to see lights, and I realize that I made it to the visitor center. Before I even said anything, they're like, hey, they found me, they tracked me, and they're like, it looks like she's about to come out, and you know, he's saying all of these things, and I'm still kind of in the woods, but I see the visitor section, but I still have like a little bit to go. So just even hearing that, like, she's about to get out, it looks like she's coming up at the cusp and all of these things, and I'm just like relieved and so happy. And I was like, thank you, thank you. I think even just having you guys on the phone made me feel better, like just knowing that I have this voice that's tracking me down, that literally knows my exact location, that even if my phone, you know, were to die or anything like that, they would know where to find me. So even if I had to stop at that point and be stuck there, I knew somebody was on their way for me. And as I'm walking out as I'm walking out, I see the deer again, and I look at her. Mind you, I love animals, and under any other circumstance I probably would have tried to pet it, but I just looked at her and I said, hey. And she literally looked at me for so long, and I like walked past her, and then she went away. And I just feel like all of it from beginning to end was so symbolic. It was so symbolic. It was so symbolic. It was so intentional. It was so just my Abba being my Abba. And then I get into the car, and yeah, there's a lot of things that transpired, a lot of emotions. There's been a lot of like unpacking of what that means to me, or like why God did that. You know, like what was I supposed to learn from this, and all of those things. So I came home, and I tell my family, and I'm like, you know, still freaking out a little bit, because I'm just like, oh my goodness, like just the reality of like, I could have spent the night in the woods. I didn't bring nothing, like. And it's so funny because when I told my mom, she said the same thing, and she's like, and you have gear for this? I do. Like, I have a flashlight, I have a hiking bag with a water pouch where I usually pack up with snacks, I have you know, different things. Like, I have a charger that, you know, charges by the sun, but every time before I leave, I make sure that it's fully charged, just in case I was in a scenario where my phone was dying, it would have enough power to juice my phone, but it's still taking, you know, from the UV rays and all of those things. But that wasn't the plan that I had for myself, right? So I didn't pack any of these things, because who would have thought that I would finish this trail today of all days? I mean, God knew. And then at one point, when I finally calmed down, I kid you guys not, when I was calm, I don't know if it was the next day or what, but I heard God say, I'm the best content creator. And I promise you, I start cackling, and I'm like, well, you know more than anybody that I love a good story time. I was like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And I was just cracking up with him, and I was like, this is nuts. And then the very next day, I get news of my grandpa. And also right now, currently, we're increasing our prayer times. We're, you know, just moved, where my church is a house of prayer, so we're just increasing in prayer. And then like all of these things, I had to still function. I had to still process what just happened in like the literal wilderness, and what God was talking to me about and teaching me there. I had to unpack a lot of emotions when it came to my grandpa. That maybe will be another video for another time, but it was very like healing. I convinced myself that my grandpa didn't love me, and I kind of would distance myself a little bit from him, a lot from him. So when I got news of his passing, it kind of hit me a little bit harder, and I went to the Lord, and I was talking to the Lord, you know, just about, I really just wanted to be present for my mother, and God ended up ministering to me about me, and I ended up crying and grieving, and, you know, just having to push through all of these things. And so this is part one. There's going to be so many segments to the wilderness season. I honestly wish I could tell you guys that I knew the exact direction. I don't. I have an idea, but I always just kind of flow with like, I always just flow with what I feel like God is saying, or what God wants to produce out of it in this time. And so the wilderness is a time where everything feels heightened. The emotions, the feelings, God is taking out a lot of things for you. What is the wilderness biblically speaking? Maybe that'll be the next video, like where do we even get that terminology from, and all of those things, because I definitely do want the Bible, the biblical
foundation of what that is, right? But overall, and I entered my wilderness in February of this year. I remember in February of this year, I couldn't function. Like, you would leave me alone for 2 seconds and I was crying. Like, I didn't have this endurance. I didn't have this stamina. So, and you guys can see in the video, you guys can see how I'm so excited when I'm like, during the easy parts of the walk, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh look, like I'm aware that I'm in the woods, but I'm enjoying the scenery, and I'm like, look at this, hey, yeah. And then once it starts getting hard, you can see how my attitude starts to shift. And I'm telling you guys that I really only finished it because I knew I needed to. I would not on my own account. That's not really something that I wanted to do. I never wanted to finish the path, always because I didn't, like, I don't know why that was my mentality, but I never wanted to finish the trail, especially not by myself. I will know, maybe if somebody else was with me, but alone. And you enter into the wilderness, at least alone, like, you learn to depend completely and entirely on God. And so much of the physical representation helped me understand areas that I need to improve in the spiritual, right? Like allowing that peace, allowing his peace to overcome me on a continual basis, even in the midst of darkness. You know, truly, I was literally in the midst of darkness. Like, it was around me, it was all around me in the wilderness. Had I just let God's peace overcome me and stayed in that place, how would the walk have been different for me? How would that have shifted the trajectory of things, you know? Things like that. So the wilderness is a trying period. It's hard, it's tough. You cry, you suffer, you heal. The first 3, 4, first couple of, like, honestly, I want to say it was June, July, August is when I really started strengthening up, and my emotions weren't always being my guide, you know. So the first couple of months was very much my emotions. Like, I'm a feeler, I'm a sensation, environments. That's why I said I was in the wilderness, and it was a lot of sensationalism, like just sensations. Like, I don't want to say sensationalism, somebody can take that out of context, but I mean like a lot of feeling of the environment, feeling of people, feeling of like all of these things. And I was actually taught that it's because I'm meant to feel the heart of God, and I do. So the wilderness is a hard time, a tough time, a time to suffer, a time that everything that is produced here is in, like I told you guys in the beginning of the clip, this is a dead and barren place. So any fruit that is produced is only and solely because of God. This is a time where I've had to learn how to depend on God and depend on God's voice. When I first entered into the wilderness, I had reached this point where I was convinced that I didn't hear God for myself, and to being in a place where I've never heard his voice the way that I do now. And the excitement that comes from knowing that, yes, I'm suffering right now. Yes, I'm going through a lot of pain, but look at how I'm responding to life differently. Of course, I still have to improve, but it's also that God is producing this person that I can never produce on my own. I can never endure on my own. I can never commit to things on my own. I would probably not even be dropping a video today if it was me a couple of months ago. I wouldn't be able to pray the way that I pray now if it was me a couple of months ago. But all of these things I've learned to fall in love with, So very early in my journey, my apostle told me to suffer well, literally early. And I'm learning. I'm not perfect. I'm gonna make mistakes. There are times that I got off of the path. This is how I'm learning, but I'm grateful that I serve the God that I do. And I was having this thought today where it was like, maybe it wasn't even mine now that I think about it, but it was like, how would you survive the end days, the end times, if you can't even survive a wilderness? You can die out here if you let yourself. You can cave in, you can complain the whole way through. We have options, right? Like, we have options. And I was like, wow, like, if it came down to the point where we had to die for our faith, where we had to die for our religion, how would we be able to, like, we want to talk big and mighty when our feelings are okay. Like, yeah, I would die for this, I would die for Jesus, whatever. But then the adversities and the hard times come, and it's like, can we though? Can we long suffer?
Are we going to hold it down regardless of? Are we going to learn his ways? Are we going to, do you know what I'm saying? Are you going to push through regardless? Are you going to accept the teachings and the corrections because he loves you like he loves me? I'm grateful that I had to go through that even in the physical wilderness, because I'll tell you, even I made it to the end, and you guys can see how I was like, I made it to the end. Like, okay, I didn't even celebrate or rejoice the fact that I just finished this trail that I've never finished before, because I was too afraid about something else, or I was too caught up with something else. And I remember before I hit the end of that, there was this beautiful scenery. Like, it was gorgeous. It was just really pretty. The sun was setting. Like, had I just stopped, and I don't even think I got a clip of it, and just I stopped for like a moment, if that. Truly, I remember. And I remember having the thought where it was like, what if this is it? And then I kept going up a little bit, and then I was like, okay, this is it. And not realizing, right, that the end of one journey is the beginning of another one. The end of this tough season is going to be the beginning of the next one. And of course, just like in the middle of this wilderness, it has been hard. There's also been a lot of beauty. There's been a lot of beauty in the midst of it. There are days where I can't wait to get out, and I have just this crazy desperation. But then I also just like, it's just the most weirdest relationship ever, right? Because I'm so in love with other aspects of it. I'm in love with like what God is doing. I'm in love with like this dependency that if I wouldn't be going through this right now, it wouldn't teach me. I wouldn't know, I wouldn't learn. And so there were points in my journey, even very recently, where I would get on the floor and surrender to the Lord, and I could feel how my flesh and my body needs him. Like, I need him. And there's scripture where it says like, my soul needs you, my flesh needs you, like I need you. And so it's like, dang, in the midst of my suffering though, I'm learning just how much I need God. There was this one day where I was just like literally just sitting there, and I realized like I had like little visions, and it was like me in a room, and it was kind of like a quick overview of life and all of its seasons, all of its many seasons. And I realized, like really truly realized, that through all of life's seasons, even all the things that I desire in my heart that I want so bad, that I know that God is going to give to me one day in his timing and in his season, all of the things that we want, right, and all of the things that we work towards here on this earth, I realized that it's going to be worth it because I have someone with me. I have my eternal person with me. Like, God is going to be with me. Jesus is going to, Holy Spirit is going to be with me through all of those seasons. When I get married, and me and my, you and your husband, or you and your spouse, when you go through hard times, like, you're going to be with someone, right, for the rest of forever, until you take your last breath. Really, you hope to be married to this person. It's crazy to think that you're not going to go through hard times, and in those hard times I'm going to have God. When I give birth to my children, when my children are sick, when I have to pray over them, when whatever ministry it gets hard, whenever people pass away, when like through all of life's ups and downs and all of life changes, I'm going to have a constant. There's a rock that is higher than me, and that's Jesus. And it's like, wow, like if I didn't make it through this tough season, I wouldn't know your ways, I wouldn't know your voice, I wouldn't learn and learn how to just endlessly depend on you. And so that's like the beautiful part of this crazy journey, is like falling in love and complete dependence. Like, I am codependent on the Lord, and that is okay. Like, it's okay. And how you can be in the midst of absolute chaos in life and be stable, or how God can produce. I've heard so many different times. I think in one day I heard 2 times, like creating your blossoming, creating your flourishing, and I'm like, thank you, and that's God. It's the Lord. It's just only he could do what he does. And so submitting and surrendering and saying yes to the wilderness, and choosing to just go through the journey. And it's okay, because the wilderness is made for you to depend on God. The wilderness is created to build you and to kill all of those
ugly things inside of you that cannot make it into this promised land, but that the promised land is guaranteed. And I don't think it's a coincidence that God has me recording when I'm still in the wilderness, because I'm holding on to faith just like you guys. I don't know what's at the end. I don't know what my promise is. I don't know anything. As you guys saw in the video, I was like, what's the point of this? Like, will I know that I reached the end? Like, that's really how I feel. In real life, I'd be like, well, what is it, you know? Like, my promise is you. I go through all of these motions. So this is gonna be the end of this video because I need to wrap up. It's pretty long, like I knew it would be. But I just wanted to encourage you, if you are in a wilderness season, to not complain. We're gonna have complaining moments, because I definitely complain in the wilderness, and I made some promises to the Lord. And I was in actual darkness, and I gotta keep them now. Like, you cannot lie to God, you know, you cannot keep your promises. So I really just want to let you know that even in the midst of this hard, tough times, that it's okay to just embrace the pain, embrace the discomfort, embrace the unknown, embrace the correction, embrace the mistakes that you make, and know that God is a teacher. Jesus is a teacher. Jesus is a rabbi, and he taught his disciples closely. He did real life with them, and that he does real life with us too. You never know, he might take you on your own little adventure. He knows me, so he knew that I was going to be able to endure that and laugh about it later. And now I have a story in my arsenal for the rest of forever of our love story and things that he taught me. And I look forward to either showing this video or talking to my grandkids one day in my rocking chair, and I'm gonna be like, let me tell you guys how I was in the wilderness season, and the Lord literally took me through a dark wilderness, and just having story time with them. There's beautiful things that lay up ahead in life, and I've literally learned, and I'm learning, that there are some times when you can't think that far ahead, where you can only see a few steps that are in front of you, but he's there. And just like at the end, I felt better because I had someone who was on the phone with me, who knew my exact location, who knew, and I could rest in that. We can rest, and we are taught to learn how to rest in the fact that he always knows where we are. He knows our exact GPS coordinates, and he will always send help. He is making our feet like stable. He is grounding his people, and it's okay for us to make these mistakes, and it's okay for us to turn around, and it's okay for us to cry. But throughout this process, there's progress, there's strength, there's dependency on him. And as long as you're doing that, we are gonna make it out of this together. We are, and it's okay. I've learned that our response is worship. How you respond is worship. So worship well, suffer well. We're gonna make it out. This is but just for a moment, and we can survive these wilderness in him, through him, not on our own and not by our own strength. If you're tired, rest. If you are weary, rest. If you feel like you have so much on your soul and on your chest, talk it out with the love of your whole eternal soul. So I'm gonna end this video on that note. I love y'all so much. Thank you for watching till the end. If you did watch until the end, please comment wilderness or something. I'll just want to know that you guys did watch it to the end, and I will respond to every single comment. Oh, and I really want you guys to stay tuned for a potential giveaway. Yay! It's almost going to be 1 month that I've been on YouTube. Yay! So I wanted to celebrate and do a giveaway. So I'm gonna have the details to that coming soon. So like, comment, subscribe, save, all of that. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 7 p.m. I mean, I said Wednesday. No, next Thursday at 7 p.m. I love y'all. Bye.